What does it mean to have a birthday?
It's a time to celebrate.
It means more freedom.
It's a time to make sure you're doing what you set out to do.
What does a birthday mean? Memories of the past, hope for tomorrow.
Whether you're 1 or 100, a birthday is a time to put on a happy face. A company's birthday, especially a centennial, also calls for celebration. A time to reflect and evaluate, of course, but even more, a time to look ahead and plan for the future. The decade of the 1880s was clearly an exciting time in America. The Wild West was being tamed. Oil was taking its place with railroads as a means to make a fortune. And a French lady named Liberty raised her torch beside a shining sea. America in 1886 wasn't at all what we know now. Grover Cleveland was married in the White House. There was no income tax, and more than 2/3 of the country's 58 million people were living a pioneering existence on farms. Against this background, quietly, almost unnoticed, many new enterprises began as the Industrial Revolution moved into a rush of expansionism. That same year saw another beginning. A former school teacher, Joseph Newton Pugh, and a banker, Edward O. Emerson, began developing some oil properties in Wood County, Ohio, and later purchased a refinery in Toledo. Although they couldn't have dreamed then what their tiny enterprise would become, it was the beginning of today's Sun Company. In a sense, Sun Company had another beginning at Spindletop in East Texas at the very start of the now famous Texas oil boom, which changed the history of oil production and set Sun on its path to greatness.
This is Gladys City, Texas. We're 1,000 miles and 100 years from where Sun started in Lima, Ohio in 1886, but we're only about 5 miles from Spindletop, the biggest oil discovery of its time and the one that started Sun on its way to being a major oil producer. This isn't a real town anymore. It's been recreated so that the memory of those boom days won't just disappear. In 1901, thousands of prospectors came to boom towns like this. They drilled the wells, they hauled the oil away in wagons, and they launched one of the largest and most important industries in this country.
And one of those that came here was J. Edgar Pugh. And what he found, what he helped to build, was an industry that made this century like no other in history. Crude oil in those early days was processed in simple refineries to make fuel for homes and fledgling industries. But just about that same time, a new industry was being born, a companion industry, the automobile industry. In Detroit, Henry Ford was learning how to mass produce automobiles. And someday, just about everyone would own one.
There are those who say that those good old days had a lot more adventure and romance. I don't know about that, but I do know that today's energy business still has plenty of competitive challenge. It's global, it's tough, it's demanding, and it leaves very little time for reminiscing. Still, there is some value to be gained by taking a look back. At the time of our centennial celebration, it'll help us understand better how far we've come, and it'll help us see more clearly how much more we can still do.
The really revolutionary idea which J. Edgar Pugh brought to Beaumont, Texas in 1901 was to transport the low-cost Texas oil from Spindletop to eastern U.S. ports for refining and distribution. Within weeks, Sun employees from Toledo and new workers from Texas swelled the ranks of those at Spindletop, which became the undisputed center of the world's petroleum production, assuring an abundance of inexpensive products, including the then lowly regarded gasoline just beginning to be developed as motor fuel. Sun's character and direction were already taking shape by the bold decisions in the first years of this century. Under the guidance of leaders like J. Edgar Pugh, there began to be something special about Sun people and Sun's way of doing things. Whether one worked at Spindletop or Toledo or the new refinery at Marcus Hook, employees set high standards for themselves. And Sun was ahead of its time in hiring women, recognizing good work, requiring safe practices, and using new technologies. It's still true today. Whether it's an oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico, a production site in Western Canada, or a drilling rig off the coast of China, what keeps Sun going are the company's principles and the people who carry them out. No matter what the scope of Sun's activities, no matter how long we've been around, it's what we do and who does it that counts. The strength of Sun comes from the values of its people, values they will not compromise. And one of the key values is hard work.
Hard work, we got lots of it here. All you got to do is get with it.
I get to be behind my desk at work and get dressed up, but I also get to come out to the field and get dirty and work hard.
That tradition of farming and hard work gave us people with a strong work ethic, which carries to our benefit even today.
Sun people have always worked hard, and the results are legend. That tradition had already been set when Robert C. Pugh, nephew of the founder, worked tirelessly to establish the Sun Oil Line Company in 1889. It was the first use of the name Sun. By the time the Toledo refinery was purchased in 1894, there was already a kind of Sun spirit.
At that time, they had 5 employees in this refinery. Today, we are a modern complex with over 520 employees, many of whom are third-generation Sun personnel and proud of its tradition and history.
You know, Sun has always been something, a security for our family, in that it's been here for 100 years and it's provided jobs, you know, for my family.
Having grown up with Sun, I knew what to expect. I knew they had treated Dad fairly, and as hard as he had worked, he had risen through the ranks, and so I feel like my opportunities with Sun were good also.
My father worked for Sun about 50 years, and my brother working for Sun directly or indirectly about 10 years, and I'm with Sun Company about 10 years. So altogether, we are working 70 years out of Sun's 100 years history.
In each of Sun Company's new endeavors, there has remained a sense of continuity and commitment to Sun's traditions. It was evident in the founding of Sun Shipbuilding and Dry Dock Company in 1916. It was a fortuitous beginning because within a very short time, Sun Ship was building tankers and warships to help win the war.
The era of Sun Shipbuilding Company has been a wonderful one. It has been dramatic, patriotic, and exciting. The launching of the first tanker, the SS Chester Sun, in January of 1918, laid the framework for the building of a total of 640 ships at this yard.
Sun Ship amassed an enviable record that would establish it as a major American shipbuilding facility for more than 65 years, through 2 world wars. Whether it's ships to win a war or petroleum products to fuel our civilization, Sun meets the challenge. A good example is the search for oil reserves.
Looks pretty good. It's hard to tell how much oil's in there. It's heavily invaded with mud, but there's quite a bit of oil sand in there. It has a real nice smell.
Sun began a scientific search for oil in the 1920s. Although the sophisticated techniques of today are greatly advanced from then, oil has become more difficult to locate.
Today we are exploring the Deep Yawa trend. It is the hottest trend in Texas, has large gas and condensate reserves. It's just part of Sun's continuing effort to find new frontiers in mature areas.
A lot of effort and a lot of money goes into these things, a lot of people's time. And because of the law of averages, you come up with so many dry holes out of so many drilled. when you're truly rank exploration drilling, true discovery well is something of a rarity.
Part of their strategy in the last several years in Michigan has been to develop old fields that were drilled up, depleted, and plugged out without ever being water flooded or any other type of external energy put into there to remove more of the oil out of the ground that exists.
Putting water down into the injector wells and forming a wall and pushing the oil towards a producing well, we can produce the Mount Pleasant field in an economical manner.
It took innovative management to develop the idea. It took someone willing to adapt to a change, to take something that was pretty much had used up its useful life, to redevelop it into a project that could be viable. And then third, it took people that were really interested in the job, really wanted the project to work to make it be a success.
Sun doesn't just take the easy way. We take the best way to do a job.
It is often said that Sun's companion to hard work is innovation. It certainly is true that a kind of industrial creativity has characterized Sun's history. Marcus Hook is a case in point. Founded as the refinery end of Spindletop oil production in 1902, Marcus Hook immediately began building a reputation as industry innovator. Highlights include unique applications of agitator mechanisms borrowed from the Toledo refinery and applied on a large scale, continuous run distillation, which made production more efficient and less expensive, mercury-made oil, a real scientific breakthrough in the 1920s, and importantly, the first practical application of a whole new concept of refining known as Houdry catalytic cracking. This process was destined to give the World War II Allies an advantage in production of high-octane aviation gasoline.
Well, Sun has been an innovator in the refining and marketing business, I guess, from the very beginning. The Tulsa refinery was started before World War I, and its primary product of any real value was lubricating oils. And as the automobile developed, the Tulsa refinery developed the solvent processes and used them much earlier than most companies. They had their own developed process by their own research department. And by the 1950s, all companies were using solvent dewaxing and solvent extraction to improve the lube oils.
It would be difficult to explain Sun's tradition of innovative achievement without acknowledging Sun's creative leader for nearly 70 years, J. Howard Pugh, who lived here in this house in Ardmore, Pennsylvania, for many of those years. To begin, Mr. Pugh had a remarkable mix of training, both in the humanities at Grove City College and as an engineer at MIT. His depth of technical understanding and concern for people gave him remarkable abilities to get things done, to inspire, and to succeed. As manager of the Marcus Hook refinery, he was the spark behind many new ideas that came from the refinery after World War I. He continued his leadership as president of Sun. In 1927, Blue Sunoco set new standards for lead-free, knockless performance. The first Hoodraflow plant in 1950 refined more gasoline from a given amount of crude oil. And Sun pioneered pollution control long before it became a public issue by using floating roof storage tanks to reduce air pollution. In 1955, the need for ongoing innovation was met by Mr. Pugh's decision to build a Richardson laboratory in Texas.
J. Howard Pugh was indeed an innovator. In fact, he was more than that, for he had a great willingness to venture. On many occasions, not only did he inspire us to follow his leadership, but he even dared us to do so. I first met Mr. Pugh in 1933 and progressively became more intimately associated with him. In 1947, when I succeeded Mr. Pugh as president, the company already enjoyed significant stature. By then, we had an accepted tradition of innovation and leadership in the industry, which was recognized by the industry.
The Pugh family provided much of the initial innovation. J. Howard's brother, J.N. Pugh Jr., was an important innovator in his own right. In the early 1930s, he supervised the building of the first pipeline for moving refined products from a refinery to marketing areas. The multi-million-dollar pipeline extended from Marcus Hook to Cleveland and later to Syracuse and Newark. Today, Sun seeks to apply innovation across its whole range of activities, including its new focus on coal as an energy source.
Since 1976, Sun's coal operations have grown during the last decade to where we're now ranked among the top 10 coal producers in the United States. We have a number of operations both in the east and in the west. In the east, we have underground and surface mines in Virginia, West Virginia, and eastern Kentucky. Our western operations are located in Wyoming, where we have a large surface mine, and in Utah, where we mine underground coal. We also have the Bighorn Ranch, which does reclamation research and is working on revegetation techniques for running a typical Wyoming cow-calf operation.
After the principles of hard work and innovation comes that of confidence. A lot of what has made Sun Company unique is the attitude that we can accomplish just about anything. A look through the company's archives here at the Hagley Museum near Wilmington, Delaware, proves that.
Anyone who has read much about Sun's history can attest to Sun's confidence in itself. The company's made a lot of decisions, nearly all of them based on a high degree of confidence that Sun people can do whatever needs to be done. Back in 1901, they just accepted as fact that you could successfully transport Texas crude oil by sea and refine it half a continent away. Again, in 1916, when it was decided to go into shipbuilding, Sun displayed confidence. Despite the fact the company had no experience in that field, Sun did not hesitate. It was just somehow known we could do it.
Another part of the Sun family that many employees may not be familiar with is the Radnor Corporation. We're real estate developers and have been active for approximately a dozen years now.
Radnor's extensive holdings range from suburban and downtown office buildings to hotels, shopping centers, business parks, residential homes, and retirement centers that extend from Florida to California. Besides Radnor Corporation, other enterprises in Sun's Industrial Services Group include Sun Carriers, which provides regional and nationwide trucking service, and Sun Distributors, which distributes products and supplies to a variety of industrial markets. It was confidence in itself that encouraged Sun to begin marketing its products internationally. Way back in 1909, the decision was made to organize British Sun Oil Limited. And just 10 years later, Sun Company of Canada and Netherlands Sun Oil Company joined the ranks. In the 1950s, Sun decided to begin exploration and production on an international basis. It all began with the unusual Lake Maracaibo field in Venezuela and goes on today in such far-flung places as the Sudan in Africa.
This particular area is about 70 million acres. This will be the first well drilled in this entire area, so you can see the risk associated with it is tremendous. It's another example where Sun is looking for reserves in an area that's isolated, it's hot, and it's desolate. But it's an example of what we try to do to put more reserves on our books.
And it was Sun's search for reserves that led to development of the Great Canadian Oil Sands facility to produce synthetic crude oil.
The Great Canadian Oil Sands plant was completed in 1967. It was a pioneering venture, of course. We were 10 years ahead of anybody else in the oil sands. And as a pioneer, of course, you meet many problems, some of which you've foreseen and others which are entirely unforeseen. In my opinion, if it hadn't been for the continuing moral and financial support from Philadelphia, we would have had to close Great Canadian Oil Sands with a considerable loss to Canada and to the energy industry as a whole.
Likewise, it was confidence in doing the unusual which led to Sun's pioneering effort in offshore exploration, and ultimately to meeting the challenge of the North Sea. Drilling in these deep offshore waters was a bold step, requiring a major commitment of people and money. But that's not unlike when Sun began drilling in the shallow waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Geologists long knew that oil fields discovered onshore extended into the waters of the Gulf, but it wasn't until the 1950s that technology caught up with that knowledge.
Basically what we're doing today is the same thing. Geologically speaking, there's no reason why oil and gas shouldn't have been trapped in these structures in the deeper water. What we're waiting for now, again, is the technology to catch up with us and to make drilling and producing in these environments worthwhile.
Sun confidence is well respected worldwide, as evidenced by today's involvement with the People's Republic of China, where Sun is now exploring in the Gulf of Beibu.
It takes a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week commitment. That's what we operate on, is a 24-hour, 7-day week. The drilling group has somebody on call in the office, somebody on standby all the time, and we have several layers of backup, and this requires the sort of a commitment to your work that it's difficult to realize till you get into it.
Commitment and dedication to the job have always been characteristic of Sun employees.
The people feel like they're a part of Sun, that Sun is their company. That's one of the strong points that really appeals to me. Having been a third-generation oil field brat, a lot of times in the oil field you feel like you're just a number, or you're just stuck out in the boondocks. But with Sun, I feel like what I do has a purpose in life and feels like that somebody's going to notice what I do.
Just not only working for Sun, but it's coming to work and working with a family. Sun is a family to us.
Family is very important in Japan. And all the people working here feel Sun is our family. So that working very hard not to spoil Sun name here in Japan.
It seems only fitting that Sunoco products are marketed in the Far East. The famous Sunoco blue color was inspired by a chip of tile from this centuries-old temple in China, given to Mr. and Mrs. J.N. Pugh Jr. on their wedding trip in 1916. Confidence in success has served Sun well, and is the stuff from which Sun's character has been formed. Because of it, we've been able to build customer confidence in Sun as well. Whether it's lubricating oil bought in Japan or a tank of gasoline purchased in North America, customers have come to respect Sun.
Marketing Sun products today is a lot easier than it was when I started, because I had literally visited areas of Canada, Thetford Mines, Quebec, where Sunoco was never heard of. And I had to do sort of a missionary job so that they knew who Sun was all about at that time. Today, we're known coast to coast, and we're certainly known in Ontario and Quebec, where we have a significant marketing presence.
My primary concern in my job is to our customer. We train our employees to know that our customer is all important, that it's very important on how we relate to our customers, a friendly smile, a thank you, a come again, to make sure that our customers want to come back again to Sunoco.
Hard work, innovation, and confidence. But what else is there in Sun's character? Well, there's commitment. Not just to doing a good job and making a profit, important as they are, but the other side of Sun is being a good citizen and a good neighbor.
The spirit of sharing and caring is just as important to Sun as marketing and production. And I think Sun people give a lot of themselves.
I'm involved in a local organization here on the east side that has, for the past 11 years, held a charity golf tournament to benefit Northwest Ohio chapter of multiple sclerosis.
We have the HERS program, we have the educational program, we have the youth program where we have more than 68 teams that we sponsor. The people of Yabucoa are very happy with the Sun Oil for being sponsoring this program.
It gives me a chance maybe to pay back a little bit for all the good years of life that I have spent in this community.
Yes, I think Sun is a people-oriented company. I think that's been demonstrated with top management and trickles down through mid-level management, and they are people-oriented.
And they're a company that have made a commitment not only to the communities where they're located, but a commitment to the people that work for them.
People make the difference is one of the themes. And with that theme comes a commitment to people and to developing people so that their qualifications and their backgrounds can fit in with the community in which they live and work.
They keep track of retirees, whether they're in singles, doubles, 2 or 3, or large groups of many hundreds.
I've always been proud to say I worked all my career with Sun Company because we're a company that's always cared for people, our own as well as others.
The record of Sun's first 100 years reflects its confidence in itself and its people. And that is the very basis of the company's longevity.
Well, by now you've got the idea that we think Sun's a pretty special company. And what makes it special is a dedication to some basic values: enthusiasm, hard work, loyalty, innovation, good citizenship. In just about every dimension, we're a much larger and much more complex business than we were then. But in its essentials, the character of this company is just as strong and solid as it's ever been.
Yes, we have been fortunate in many ways, but our success has not been a result of chance. And we aren't counting on luck to see us through our second century. No, we're putting our confidence in Sun people.
We know that future generations are going to be proud of what you've accomplished. Sun has always been a company that created value. We've helped fuel the world during the most remarkable period of progress that this planet has ever seen. We've never done it in a flashy way, that's not our style. But we've done it reliably and honestly and competently. People of other times had their challenges and their victories, and we have ours. We have a century of momentum behind us, and we have the incentive of new achievements and proud moments yet to be lived.
And so, as Sun enters its second 100 years, it will do so with the confidence that its achievements will continue. And whether the new challenges are found in some exotic foreign land, in dealing with the mysteries of a coal mine, or in unmasking the secrets of the seas, Sun people will succeed. And they'll do it the way Sun people have always done it. They'll do it with grace and grit.